How's everybody in fly tying land? Pete here at Spawn Fly Fish, and the weather is pretty nasty, but the fish are plentiful. So get yourself a nice hot cup of coffee, grab your vise, grab some tools, and let's have some fun. As we get started today, you can see not a hook here in the jaws. This is a shank. So this is the Spawn articulated shank, 17 millimeter. Why 17 millimeter? Well, here's the reason. It just fits the hook that we're going to be using, which is the 254 size 2. And I think it makes a very nice little trailer section for a tail and just lines up. So if there's a number that you really like, 15 mil, whatever it might be, even 20 millimeter, great. This is one of those weird things. It makes me happy. It's what I like to use. So there we go. Not a lot of big science behind that, but it works. So today we are going to tie a coho fly, but we're going to think in terms of a bait fish. I know it sounds a little bit odd. We don't fish bait fish for salmon in freshwater in the rivers. You know, we're usually looking at these pretty gaudy, outrageous flies. And this one's going to be pretty gaudy and outrageous too, but it's going to be along the lines of a bait fish. So you don't have to go, super creative or anything crazy. If you just have a little bit of time, you can kind of use a pattern that you already tie and just change out the colors or a couple of ingredients here and there, and boom, you're into a different species. So here, let's just start with some Fuchsia Marabou. You can see as I stacked it, I just ripped those tips off so we get an even effect without having straight edges. And although this is a shank, it can be either direction. Let's go and spin it. So this is the bottom side of our shank, and we're just going to get this tied in as the bottom side of our tail. So we'll have a two-tone tail going here, and we don't need it super long, but we do want a pretty good coverage of this shank, meaning a top to bottom coverage. And so I'm just going to get it started, and then before I finish, I'll just mash down on both sides like this, kind of come in with my off tying fingers and make sure we're going to get at least coverage on the sides of this shank. And while we're here, let's go ahead and cut this butt section out for the most part. I don't need to fight that. And then we're simply going to tie back to that little spot where the eye of the shank or the arm starts. Nothing to it. There you go. Pretty easy so far. And now let's put just a little bit of flash in there. And I know it's a two-tone tail, but as we get to the front portion of this fly, it'll become three-tone. And this will kind of give you the clue what that other tone would be. So this is a light blue Krystal flash. And we're just going to veil this over the thread. And then this will come out from between those two colors, that is pink and purple. So purple will be on the top. But in between, let's sandwich a little bit of flash here. And as far as how much, I've got probably 8-10 strands, somewhere in that range. Nothing super crazy, but definitely enough to be noticed. And then as far as a trim out point, I'm just looking to line up with the end of those tail fibers. And I don't want a super even cut, so I'll cut at an angle there. Great, call that good. So now let's get into our second tone, if you will. And for that, I've just got some purple Marabou. And so, again, this is one of those flies you probably have most of the goodies already sitting on your desk somewhere, or in a box, in a closet, whatever it might be. The point is this: you probably have the vast majority of the materials to tie some sort of variation of most of what you see here. If you want to be precise and exactly tie what we tie, great. Then, pick up those couple of materials that are missing or whatever. But I'm telling you, you probably have a lot more than you realize. Make the most with what you do have. That's the point of that. So now on this purple, I'm going to make sure again, we're letting it creep down the sides a little bit and all that goodness. We want that pink and the purple to sort of marry around the blue. There we go. It's pretty sexy already. All we've done is tie a little bit of a tail. we have been getting out a little bit as far as, talking about salmon fishing. The number of chum in the river, pretty impressive. Lots of fish in there. And now we are getting bombarded with some rain. So here in the next week or so, we'll probably see pretty good decline in the number of chum as they expire and add nutrient to the rivers. But then we also do have some of those B-run coho showing up. And as it keeps raining, it's a little bit daunting sometimes, especially if you're new to this portion of the country. But every time it rains, we get a little bit excited because it just means another fresh push of those fish coming in and more fish for us to play with. It's a good thing. So now you see I made a little thread loop there, and let me get my spinner in this loop, and inside this loop I have a healthy dose of spawn UV dub, specifically coho Kool-Aid. So yep, getting ready for those coho to inundate, and just basing this off of colors that are sort of notorious for coho fishing. Some of my favorite colors: purple, pink, blue. Nothing extreme, but man, they sure do like it. Let me just brush out this loop here. I don't need any loose fibers, all that. Let's just eliminate them now before we wrap. And then make sure that Marabou is not part of the loop. There we go. It likes the dubbing so much it wishes it were in there. That's all. I can't blame it. It's a good dub. A lot of fish. I've been tricked by this dub. Easy as you please. We'll just wrap in this nice loop here, dub loop, all the way up this shank. Kind of grabbing both sides on our off tying hand like this on every wrap. Just stroking that dubbing back. And then next thing you know, time to tie that loop off. Give it a couple good wraps there. Undo our spinner and then double that back on itself and really wrap that loop down and trim it out. Back to the brush. And for those of you who wonder, is it necessary to brush? Yep. I'm just gonna make the blanket statement. Yes, it is. It's important. Any trap fiber is going to prevent movement. Dub, specific dubs, especially like this one, are meant to breathe and or move. And so if there are trap fibers, it's just going to reduce the effectiveness of a given dub. So by all means, take that extra time, brush her out good, and then finish it up. You'll be glad you did. And yep, just busted that thread a little bit, but no worries. Anyway, you'll be glad you brushed all that out. It'll move much better. It'll give a better profile when it's wet and swimming. And again, as far as that breathing factor in the pause motion or drop, if you will, when you're not actively stripping that fly, it's going to open up ever so gently. It'll push the other materials out, and that's where you get that breathability, breathe movement factor, all that good stuff. Anything that adds another element to the mobility or action of that fly, I am a big fan. We'll head cement here. If you wonder how much you move around when you're at your tying desk, lay out some marabou feathers rather, like I have on the desk right now, and just go about your normal tying and see how much is left on the table when you're done. I can tell you I have marabou flying all over the place right now. I'm not upset about it either. So we're just going to pop this tail section out. We're not going to move it too far. We'll be back on that in a second. Let's get our hook involved now. There we go. Can you guys see that okay? Hopefully. So we do have the Ahrex SA254 size 2 For the bead, this is the Spawn Super Slotted Tungsten Bead, deep purple. And then I'm going to give it 6 wraps, 0.025, lead-free wire. And if you're a fan of twisting that lead wire, great. There's your chance to do so. I'm a bigger fan of the cut. I like to round that edge off with my dedicated wire cutting scissor. But everybody's got their favorite move. You do yours. Jam that right in there. And then we are back with the thread. Just want to really solidify all these weighted wire wraps. And so we'll get our thread started. And then we're going to make some X figure wraps here. So I've got an angle, 45-degree angle going up and the opposite going back. Do that a couple times. I'm going to create some diagonals there on the weighted wire wraps. And then I'll come through straight on and lock all those X's into place. None of that's going to move, and that is the goal. Give ourselves a little bit of a thread spot there, right where the bend begins, and then we're back to our tail section. Keep in mind, now that this is a jig hook, this is the bottom. On this side will be the top, and so as we're not quite ready for that tail, I lied to you. We got to have something to attach it to. So here we go, another Spawn shank. This one I've dedicated, meaning I cut that eye right off. And so this is a 19mm shank. And if you have tried this method and you enjoy it, great. Some people prefer attaching with a trailer wire. Some people like braid. Some people like mono. I like this method. I have not had one fail. I fight what I consider pretty good sized fish, and so if it's not going to fail on a monster salmon and all that, as it just goes into its acrobatics and everything, I'm feeling pretty confident. Put this on sharks, you name it, and never had one fail. So I'm not going to argue with it until it argues with me. There we go. Got that arm nicely tied down. And of course, this is where I usually like to come in with a little bit of super glue. But for the sake of video time, here we go. Super glue, super glue. Can you see it? All right. Thanks for playing along with that. Just going to save us a little bit of time. 30 seconds goes a long way. So at this point, if you wanted to, you could really get in crazy here and do another little addition of Marabou. I don't want to decrease the swing or kick on this tail at all. So I'm going to call that good and get right into our loop here for the body section of our hook, or front of the fly. So 1, 2, 3 times around, lock that into place. All that does is close the top of that loop, and then 1, 2, 3 twists to open all the way to the top, and we will of course now add our dub for the front body. This one's a pretty healthy stack here, pretty healthy ladder of dubbing. I do want it to push a little bit, meaning to prop those feathers up as it again is in the pause motion of the strip. So yes, you could go much thinner on that dub and you'll get a sleeker profile that doesn't pop up quite so much. And why does that matter? Well, sometimes in the low water situation, you don't want to have a fly that's just acting a little bit cocky even in that water. Although sometimes that itself can cause a strike. You don't want to spook these fish, because now they one takes off, they all take off. Now it's 10-15 minutes before they settle down, and sure, it's fine. It's fun to watch. Being part of this cycle that is salmon, it's amazing. You're seeing everything from birth to death and everything in between. It's just pretty humbling, I would say. But again, sometimes you don't want a large profile fly, and so then by all means keep it slick. Don't put as much dubbing in that loop, and you'll have a smaller profile. Nothing to it. So start wrapping this guy A lot of yap in there just to say sometimes you can put more dub in a loop. That's why we're here. Talking flies, talking fish. That's already a pretty good start to the day if you ask me. And yes, I do have a very nice cup of coffee sitting here. I know you guys can't hear it raining, but it's coming down. Just a perfect day to tie some bugs with some good friends. Only old tube. There we go, right up to it. Pretty good guess if you ask me. Do that, or I've tied a couple of these before. I'm gonna bring that back, tie it down over itself. Now we can cut out the tag end of our thread loop. And one more time, and then I'm done. Brush. Get all that goodness worked out. No trap fibers, lots of breathing, lots of condense and opening. We love it. That's exactly what the fish want to see too. So especially around where that connection is, just make sure you are brushing all that out. It'll help support this back piece, and you won't get as much unnatural drop, if you will, from that shank. It'll just kind of ride around and move with the front portion of the fly, and that's what we're looking for. All right, so now let's finish the entire effect here. So on this bottom side, of course, we're going to just kind of keep that mentality once again, and we'll come in with another section of Fuchsia Marabou. If I can find a good section here on this feather. It's less than ideal, let's just say that. So I might peel two different sections here and then stack them. Give me 2 seconds. Got one little chunk. Now let's go for another good chunk. And we'll put them together. We should have plenty of fiber. This is simply making the most out of the feathers you have. I want to reiterate, you probably have the vast majority of this goodness at home, and we do appreciate when you order the materials and go, no, I want to tie it that exact way. That's awesome. But that's not the case for every fly or every day. Doesn't always work that way. Here we go. Nice healthy chunk of Marabou. Might even be a little bit much, but let's find out. Yep, that's going to be a little bit heavy on the Marabou. Get rid of some of that. That's better. So now I just need this to reach somewhat back. If it gets to, 40% of the tail, 50% of the tail, I'm going to call that a win. And now just gently going to place that right where I want it. I'm not going to come in with a super, super aggressive wrap here. I just want 1 and then 2 soft wraps. Now I can sort of work that around and make this line up as much as I really want it to before I solidify the positioning of this chunk of Marabou. And so I'm coming down, not quite as exaggerated as it was on the shank, of course. Why? Well, because there's already material on this. This has an underbody. That shank did not have an underbody. And so it won't move quite the same as far as spreading out, but very similar. All it takes is a deep breath and a little bit of patience. And when you take that deep breath, don't exhale on your Marabou, or you'll have to get out new Marabou. There we go. It's going to be a kind of a messy little finish up here by the bead, but it's okay. It'll be strong, and then we'll finish her off so it looks nice too. Always something to do. And now we're going to come in with our purple for that top. There we go. Peel a nice little chunk off of there. And again, just ripping those tips so that you get that even, semi-even tip without a cut edge. We don't want that cut edge. Just line up where your fuchsia ends and match that up again with the soft wraps. get that spread evenly around the hook point. And this is where your bodkin comes in too, and you can kind of just get in there, manipulate around, and not poke your fingers. I advise not poking your fingers. If that's something you're into, that's on you. I'd rather not, but again, everybody's got their own thing. I'm not here to judge, just here to tie. Oh, and catch fish. Can't forget that part. Really solidify that top purple section. Cut out all those butt ends. Getting a little tough to see in there. Got a lot going on, but it's okay. Again, a little patience goes a long way. Look at how much fluff we're gonna have on this thing. It's gonna be great. So when this all gets saturated down and starts swimming through the water, it will grab some attention, believe me. And if you're new to the coho game, I will suggest 15, 20 pound mono or fluoro, whatever floats your boat. Tie a good knot, really, really good knot, because these fish, they're not going to come up and kiss it. They're going to try to kill it. And they're beastly, they're monstrous, they're strong. And they don't like that fly. They're going to try to hurt it. So let's get our last little element here. Forgive me, I'm going to peel both sides off before we get started. So we're adding one more trigger, just a subtle kickback to that flash that we added. So this is specifically fluorescent blue Marabou. So I'm going to come in right along the side here. I'm going to do my side first just to get that in there. And I do want to keep this one a little bit more contained or controlled, whatever you want to term it. I want its location to be a little bit more exact than I did on either the fuchsia or the purple. And you'll see why here shortly. And I'll do the same on your side now. And I'm just splitting the difference of where the purple and fuchsia meet. And again, just keeping that little chunk tight this time, not spreading it around, and solidifying that tie-in. So now we add an entirely different dimension to this fly with what I consider to be a pretty easy addition. Do you need it? Probably not, but it's one of those things, I'm telling you, the effect of all three of these colors with these fish, they are just going to slam it. So there you can see it slick down a little bit better. And you're hitting on all the colors that the coho absolutely love. And that's kind of important in my book. So now if we want, we can come in with just a little bit more of our coho Kool-Aid. We're just gonna give it a nice little collar here, if you will. I'm not gonna do a loop or anything. I'm just gonna come to the front, get that thread right there. I'm going to do a rather loose application of getting this dubbed onto the thread. And then I'm just going to, once again, cover up those tie-ins sort of and give it a little bit more of a finished feel and really capitalize on the effectiveness of the spawn dub that is Coho Kool-Aid. I will say this, if you've not tried Coho Kool-Aid on coho, you're missing out, but there's a bonus. Chum will happily eat it as well, and so it's not just a one-trick pony. It catches fish, period. Get that thread trimmed out. Let me put this guy back up here like so. And yes, I do know it's upside down for you, but let's slick it back one more time. And so now you get the idea of, yep, you can actually tie a coho baitfish. Even though it doesn't look like any bait fish you and I would probably see in the water, for them it makes sense, and they're going to greedily come eat this thing. Just going to finish this fly with a little bit of head cement, cover those wraps, and we are good to go, ready to fish. And I hope all of you at least consider giving salmon fishing a shot. If you haven't done it, give us a call. Come talk to us in the shop, whatever it might be. We'll give you some pointers, point in the right direction. But there you have it. We have a coho baitfish ready to shine. Hope you guys enjoyed this. I love spending time with you. Do me a favor though, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we will see you all on the water.